let's start with Bachmann because her she basically told us why she was running. Excuse me, and well, maybe running is a good is an apt
Running from the
description.
law, perhaps.
Indeed, she went on to say, and we all know how crazy she is, but there's a couple of things that I want to touch on. First, let's just because I know you and I spoke about this. We actually recorded something for Ring of Fire yesterday. And the interview will be up this weekend. People can hear it on their local radio programs. Most people know that I host that show on the weekends. And Cliff joined me to talk about this. But you really did. You really have a grip on more so than I was aware of. I mean, I'd heard. I've talked in the past about the non-disclosure forms that she forced her campaign officials to sign, and some wouldn't. But you really have a good grasp on just what Michele Bachmann is facing. Not the threats per se to her holding on her seat, which by all accounts she was going to have a very tough time getting reelected. But really, I mean, it seems to me to be very likely that she perceives some form of indictment or something rather serious on the criminal front.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, some space just opened up, I think, right? Didn't Randy Duke Cunningham just get out? They have an empty cell for a corrupt Republican. Needs to be filled. Yeah, we can go. We should definitely go over some of these specifics.
Walk through this because I didn't realize she's being investigated by five different. There's 5 different criminal investigations going on, or
right. As I said on the other show, and I'll steal my own line, repeat again. 2 more, and you get a free toaster oven. She has the FBI, the Federal Election Commission, the Office of Congressional Ethics, the Iowa Senate Ethics Committee, and my personal favorite, the Urbandale, Iowa Police Department, are all basically most of these, and there's a couple of different things going on here, but most of these stem from the fact that it seems that she bribed a state senator in Iowa to support her. And there's already aides of hers that have come forward and talked about this, and the fact that she is so hated. My guess is, I mean, a classic example being that 8-minute video she did. You know that anybody who had any common sense who does media for a living, whether you do radio like you do or I do, or you do consulting on it or whatever, knows that you don't stand up and sort of repeat charges that are made against you. But she did, and my guess is that that's some of what the hatred for stems from, because I'm sure all the people said to her, don't say anything about this, but she always knows better. And she, her turnover in her office was legendary, and on her presidential campaign. And so the people have come out already. I mean, that's the thing, is that everybody was keep staying tight-lipped about this. She might have a chance. But she's got 2 former chiefs of staff that are already ripping her constantly in the media, which is just unheard of, because usually you're worried about your next job on Capitol Hill, so you keep your mouth shut. You only would do that if you're assuming someone's headed off to the pokey and you need to protect yourself.
I'll tell you something. That is an excellent point. I mean, this is like many businesses, when you leave, you keep the secrets with you because you don't want to send a signal to the next person who may hire you. We're talking chief of staffs here. You don't want to send a signal to the next person that, I tell tales out of school, as it were. So these guys definitely feel that she is either that dirty, or is going to get or is going to be disgraced in a significant way. And I think we also saw this with Fox News. You had she was the darling of Fox, and there was barely any mention of this on Fox News. I mean, it's pretty stunning.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, she was on there quite often, and they've had their own embarrassments in the last 6 months, the Dick Morris episode and other things. And so I think as more of the people are exposed on who take up the cause of the far right, either out of their personal demons and insanity or for the profit, like Dick Morris, but as they're exposed for being charlatans, whatever their motivation is, of course, it can only hurt Fox and make Fox look as stupid as Fox should look. So no mention there. And again, this is pretty serious stuff. I mean, you've got not just the federal, agencies, but you've got the local ones looking into her. And again, I'm impressed. The Urbandale, Iowa Police Department, good for them. And so, there's the state senator, but she also took funds from one campaign and illegally used it in another. There's using it on all sorts of expenses not related to campaigns. If you could basically find a way to break every campaign finance law, and it's tough these days with how loose our campaign finance laws are, by the way, she seems to have found the ways to do it. So it should be interesting, and this has been reported by the Minneapolis Star-Tribune and the Des Moines Register. So unless they're making things up in conjunction, it seems Michelle's in trouble. But, I think, again, the greatest giveaway was that she got up during that video where we were all just thankful that she actually looked at the correct camera this time. And went on that 9-minute rambling speech about why she wasn't leaving because of the investigations, which, you would never say unless you were leaving because of the investigations. You wouldn't even bring that up.
Those first 4 minutes of that speech, I still cannot get it out of my mind, the way that she sort of twisted herself into a pretzel by coming up with what the real justification of me leaving is, and it's because, of course, because the president only constitutionally can serve 8 years, I have decided to adopt that same standard for absolutely no other reason than it happens to be coincidental with the amount of time that I will have served before I get indicted.
You should have given us like a list of other things. And there also are 8-year cicadas out there.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought if the cicada can rest for 8 years, perhaps that was a good period of time for me to leave Congress. I don't know.
The cicada,
just made up random
the cicada
things,
comes every 17 years. If you subtract 1 from that, it's 16 years. If you divide that by 2, the number of people who are in a traditional marriage, that is 8, and that is why I'm leaving. And it's not because I'm being investigated by 5 agencies. I
left after 8 years. 8 hours, as you may know, is a third of a day. And God created the earth in 6 days and rested on the 7th day. And hence, she could have just given whatever she wanted to say, but obviously it was BS. They've got a term limits bill that one Republican, I can't think who, has brought up, and she's refused to sign her name on it. So she doesn't even actually believe in term limits. So this is just another convenient lie. Wasn't the people did you bring it up the other day? Was it PolitiFact or one of those that said that she's the only politician where they've never found her actually saying an honest statement? Every time they look into something, a claim of hers, it's false.
Yes.
She sent out a Christmas letter where she sort of tried to pimp her son out and say how, oh, look, ladies, he's, and she actually called him, I think, a chick magnate as opposed to mag. So she can't spell that. She thinks she's in New Hampshire giving speeches and thanking the people of Concord, New Hampshire for where the revolution started, as we all know. She just, she's been kind of a clueless joke from the beginning.
Now, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Is the reason why she's announcing this now, okay? Because now she's sort of a lame duck, right? So no one's going to take her seriously. But is the reason why she's announcing this now, is it her hope that at least it will slow down or take some of the energy out of one of these 5 or multiple of these 5 investigations? Because usually in this situation, the first thing a prosecutor will go to her and say, we want you to resign. We'll strike some deal. You resign and we won't pursue X, Y, and Z charges. Is this her way of basically trying to take the air out of the tires of some of these investigations?
Oh, I think definitely. I think there's no question. I think that she takes some of the air out of the investigations by doing it. She makes Republicans, who I'm sure behind the scenes have been trying to convince her to do this, more, let's say, happier with her, ones that don't like her and have thought they could lose this seat based upon her, so that they can get somebody else in there and have a chance of winning. You need to remember that this is the most conservative seat in Minnesota, that Mitt Romney beat Obama there with 56.5% of the vote, and yet she only beat Jim Graves, the challenger, last time by 4,300 votes, like 1% or less. He is not a hotel magnate, but a magnate. So he has the funds to be able to challenge her. And to point all these excesses and problems out about her. And so I think that by leaving now, she hopefully gets some of the people not to investigate her in the way that they would. She makes people on her side of the aisle happier, and perhaps they'll support a legal defense fund, as you and I discussed. Those campaign funds, I believe, can also be transferred over into a legal defense fund. So there's that. There's a whole lot of reasons to get out of there now, and my guess is she won't even survive the entire term.
And what's interesting is I think I've read, according to the Minnesota Post, it appears that Jim Graves is not going to run against her now, just because he is happy that she will not be representing that district. So it should be. It should be interesting to see what happens there. But I want to just transition because there's so much, I think, to be gleaned from the response on the right to this study, which showed women having a much bigger a role in providing for their families in a professional sense, but in terms of working. But do you think? I mean, I've seen there was I can't remember if I think it was Carvel who said something. One door closes for Michele Bachmann, 6 open for Louis Gohmert, and do you think that? I mean, and my sense is, and you have to check yourself at sometimes, but my sense is that Michele Bachmann was not the poster child, or was not subject to as much ridicule. Was subject to so much ridicule not because she was a woman and held these beliefs as opposed to Louis Gohmert, but because she was in a district that was not as conservative as she was, but also she has been an incredibly big national figure for being just a congressperson who, as far as I know, never got any legislation passed, never...
No, she didn't really do anything when she was there. And your point's exactly correct. I don't know if anybody's trying to claim that there was sexism against Bachmann, but give me a break. I mean, we talk about Steve King and Louis Gohmert and the group of crazy lunatics in that party all the time. The difference is that she actually would go on MSNBC, where most of these guys would avoid, like when she went on Chris Matthews' show and pointed out that members of Congress should be investigated to see if they had anti-American beliefs, which is what launched her. It launched her into our consciousness, probably. Largely that had something to do with it, or a lot to do with it. And she also ran, she ran for president, and they didn't. I mean, she did a number of things. She also she sort of grabbed the Tea Party label for herself. I mean, she was more of a self-promoter. Those guys are crazy, but they're not sort of in the self-promotion business the way she's been. She really was just the congressional version of Palin.
Right.
And so there's a reason why there was more of a reaction. But I don't think any of us would sit here and say, can you pick the craziest member? I mean, Tim Hulskamp, or however you pronounce his name. I mean, if I thought about it for long enough, I could find 20 people that are literally insane people that really we should be questioning whether they should be American citizens, much less, you like that? I'd use the Michele Bachmann thing.